In this video, I'm going to show you how we made our song Ocean Eyes, in particular how I did the production for this song.
Trust me, if I had the choice, I would go way back to when
Now, cool thing about this track, the vocals were actually the first thing that was done. So MMXVAI, or 2017, sent me a vocal track that he recorded to essentially a demo, just another random song they found online. That was an instrumental. They wrote the vocals to that and then exported just the vocals, sent that to me, and I built the instrumental to fit the vocals and also fit the vibe we were going for. And in the intro of the song, all this little effect is just the chorus of the song pitched up an octave, just kind of, there's also a bunch of reverb and a bunch of delay and other effects on it to make it have this really small but far away kind of vibe, and that's what this is. Literally just the chorus of the song pitched up an octave. And samesies for the guitar here. It's not pitched up an octave, but it's just the guitar with some effects on. I have this thing called Super VHS that all it does is just kind of makes whatever you put through it gritty and kind of old-time feeling. So if I solo that, here there's all this noise and distortion and kind of warbliness to it, and that's because of Super VHS. And I'm also filtering it out just to try to make this intro sound like really small. So when the drums and the bass and the regular guitar and regular vocals come in, everything sounds big, basically. And so the first element to actually kick off here, so obviously we've kind of already gone over the guitar. That's kind of what makes up the backbone of what the guys are singing over. So MMXVAI and also Kashaga, or Kashaga. I actually don't know how to say his artist name, which is funny. But this is the thing I came up with. Just a very simple chord progression, although ironically it took way more takes than I'd like to admit, just because it's kind of weird to jump between all these chord shapes, and I was using an 8-string guitar for it, which is complete overkill. It's just the nicest guitar I have, essentially. So then we had the drums, and the drums are what's known as MIDI drums, so they're not like recorded real drums. And I kind of programmed them to be this kind of fast, like they almost sound like they're upbeat rock drums, but they're done with electronic drum sounds, just to me, that kind of screams modern fun pop. So even though the drums are electronic, I made the bass guitar real bass. It's still done with MIDI, but I'm using a realistic sound. Dog barking outside. I used a realistic sounding bass instrument. And so it's like a 6-string bass or something. It's super deep, but it fit quite well. And if we add in the guitar here, and that's the foundation of the song, and it really does repeat through a significant portion of it. Now, if we kind of skip to the chorus, there's some more elements that get mixed in. And so I'll play a little bit of it in case you haven't heard it again. So just like I made the intro small so that the verse could be big, there's kind of always this contrast thing with music where you certain parts of the song you want to be small so that other things can be big. And that's why so many elements get added when the chorus comes in, right? There's an additional vocal layer here. There's all these different synthesizer sounds, and there's an additional bass instrument that comes in to make it even more low end happen. And then there's also some more guitar. So we'll kind of strip this element by element. This is another drum layer. It's just a louder version of the other drum layer. And the drums are different as well. So there's like cymbals, and the snare is also triple stacked here. So it's the same kit. It's just kind of everything's made to be thicker and bigger and wider. And then we kind of go down these tracks. We have this synth layer, which I actually don't remember what it is. It sounds pretty crazy when you're hearing it by itself. Like when you hear the context of the song, you don't really necessarily notice it. It's just in the background to just create more, essentially, just to make everything sound a little thicker. Now, this is a little subtle. You can definitely hear it in the song, but you might not have noticed it immediately. There's a couple lead melodies that are happening. And that's doubled with this other thing, this other sound, but it's doing the same melody. Put those together, you get this cool kind of combination between the two. Now, I skipped over this middle thing. This is just the vocals pitched up an octave because 17's singing the vocal line in his normal voice, but I wanted it to have this like electronic hybrid kind of sound, and so we paired it with the octave up version. And so those are a lot of layers that are in there that kind of get overshadowed, partially by the vocals, but also by the guitars. Like you probably noticed most prominently, there's the drums, there's the vocals, and then probably also the guitars here. Let me pair that with the bass. And so you can see there's a lot of decisions that happen in this process where, like, even this chorus could be completely different if instead of having the synthesizers and this more aggressive synth and this octave up, like this could be a completely different song, even using like the existing layers that are in here, just by taking out some layers or making other ones louder. And that's kind of where the decision making comes in, where you at some point you have to choose what kind of song do you want to make, because there's the same song can be like, I could remake this song in like 20 different styles without actually changing the chords or the melodies or the lyrics of anything in the song. And that's kind of always something you're balancing as an artist. Now, next we get into this other verse.
I'm scared that this love isn't real. When we touch, I don't feel.
Which is just some pomme guitar and then also some vocals by itself. And the idea again with this here was to make it start off with just guitar on the left side and then have them come in full with the drums to make that transition sound even bigger.
Feel bad, I go back, but we're victims of time. Yeah. Just tell me that this isn't the end.
And you might have noticed throughout the song there's these little layers that happen at transition elements, and these are essentially just designed to help a song transition into different parts. So it sounds ridiculous on its own, but this is throughout pretty much the entire song. And like that I use a lot with these drum fills, and you notice here like the drums cut out and the guitars and bass cut out just a split second before everything else. And the goal of that is, again, to make things feel small before they get big, to make the big stuff feel bigger. So that like drum thing is like really loud and punchy, but everything around it just kind of falls away for a second while it's playing, so that when everything comes back in, it feels a little louder. And I do the exact same thing here. After those guitars, like they come in full.
I go back, but we're victims of time. Yeah. Just tell me that this isn't the end, 'cause I don't wanna go.
Now this verse here, again, all these vocals were sent to me ahead of time, but there was like a slight timing issue with one of the vocals here at the very end, and I was trying to find where I could insert my own voice into the song because the vocals were done, and so I was going to do some harmonies and layering, and I did do a harmony part, but one of the vocals that I did, the main part, is just this single line right here.
In the middle of the ocean again.
And that's the only lead vocal line I have in the whole song, but at least I can say that I managed to insert my voice somewhere. Now, in addition, this is actually octavized. So if I solo this is just my voice.
In the middle of the ocean again.
Obviously some effects, but then there's actually an octave down.
In the middle of the ocean again.
And that's just to make it feel thicker and bigger, and I believe most of the vocals throughout the song have that kind of thing coming in and out of it for the same reason. So if I solo those two together,
in the middle of the ocean again.
like you can hear it, but you don't really notice it unless you're listening for it. And then once you add the rest of the song,
In the middle of the ocean again. I've been walking all night.
it just kind of makes the voice sound a little thicker without making it sound like as monstrous as the octave down. Now, the only other vocals that I added was some slight harmonies happening in the background. You can actually hear my my headphones bleeding out into the microphone. That's just because I don't, ideally you'd record with headphones that aren't very loud, or don't output much sound aside from the person wearing them. I never bothered because you'd never hear that stuff in a mix at all.
And I'll be yours again on the shore again. Or we living like that.
I actually don't remember what this is.
I look into your eyes.
Oh, okay, I guess I actually did add another vocal layer. I completely forgot about this. Then the outro is kind of a callback to the chorus, because I realized that in the chorus it's not too obvious to hear that like dee-doo, 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 dee-doo kind of plucky thing. So I added into the outro just so that melody can kind of feel like, when you hear it, you might be like, oh, I feel like I've heard that before. And it's because you just heard it in that chorus. It's in this build-up section, and then it's in the other chorus. So it's kind of like a subtle way to make people feel like they've heard something before, because they did. They just didn't realize it. And that's kind of happens all throughout music. Things keep coming back up again and again, and you have to try to find ways to keep them new every time they come up. So that's pretty much it for this track. If you have any questions, leave them below. And if you want to hear the whole song, check this out right here. And this video at the bottom is whatever YouTube thinks you should watch. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.